Today we have with us a very important and distinguished individual, I must say. It's none other than Mr. Keishas Gomez. He's the Managing Director, Chief Executive Officer of Chevron Lubricants Lanka PLC. And to tell about Keishas, he was the youngest to be appointed to a US multinational company at the age of 35, and the only Asian in the Asia Pacific leadership team covering 22 countries, where he has won most awards by the multinational company CEO and etc. Welcome, Keishas.
Thank you, and good morning to you, and good morning to the listeners, Dan.
Let me ask my first question, because I know that you started from a very grassroots level. Your childhood and what attributes did you have as a kid, and how did you develop them?
Okay, great question to start with, Dan. Thank you for asking that. Well, I mean, like any other kid in Sri Lanka, born to a middle-class family, I went through the process. So when I was small, I had a few skills like any other kid, and I got the opportunity to sharpen, some of those skills to be noted, admired, and respected by my family members, my village people, school teachers, and all of them. So at a very, very young age, I started to enjoy the feeling of admiration, feeling of love, feeling of respect. And I thought at that point of time, if I can do something to be able to retain that, maintain that, that would be the best a man can achieve. So with that thought, whatever I laid my hands on, I kept on excelling. And that kept me going in the way I wanted. And I realized that, some of the things could come automatically. But for most of the things that, you got to work extremely hard to be able to, be the others, to be not just one of them, but to be a star. So those was, some of the attitudinal kind of, perspectives I had at a very early age, which made me the man I am today, Dan.
Did you have any vision at that time that you would reach the pinnacle of the corporate world like this today? And then also, did you have a role model to follow?
Okay, thank you. That gives me the opportunity to sort of, explain my mind as to what I believe about the two aspects you talked about, vision. No, all I wanted was to be someone special who could, get that admiration I told you about. But in terms of my, line of work, what I wanted to be, you asked me, I'll be very, very frank, I didn't know where I was heading. So I just happened to do what I did. I did mathematics for my advanced level, but I spent more time doing sports than spending time in the class studying the subjects. So obviously through that process, I managed to acquire all the skills that are required for you to be able to apply yourself to achieve success. Right. So I just took, one by one. I just wanted to, be a star during my school days. And then I wanted to, with that background, get into a field where I thought, I could excel. So then, when I was basically looking for different opportunities, I thought I could succeed in. Accidentally, I saw this, very smartly dressed young marketing executive working in Morotua town, and he got my attention, and he was extremely smart, and his personality was super duper. In my own, terminology, and he drove a flashy car, and then, if you remember, world at that time was much smaller than the world we live in today, right? We had very little exposure to the media, and in terms of being able to understand what the world was, we only had a couple of mediums, right? Radio and magazines and papers. And our parents and our elders at that point of time did not know enough about the world. So therefore, they were not in a position to give us the right direction right? To propose something that's sensible. So I just, said it, for you to know what I had to go through. So that personality was impressive, and he managed to dominate the scene that he was in. And I thought, wow, if I can be someone like that, I should be able to, become somebody. So then I got into marketing. And let me pause, because your question was about vision. So I did not have a vision other than having that determination that I should be somebody at that level, a star, to be able to, get that love and respect and admiration, as I said. You asked me about role models. Thank you ever so much for asking that question. And I tell people, never follow role models, because you can't be a copycat. There is absolutely no way that you can be another man. And my theory was, right from the beginning, to learn from every single individual that I, come to sort of deal with. I had the art and science built in me to be able to learn from every situation I come across day in, day out. So if you ask me, there are more than 100 people in me, right? And I'm unique. The reason why I'm telling the younger generation not to follow role models is individuals perform in different environments, different situations, right? And those are never the same. And I, as a very, very small guy living in Sri Lanka, in this small island, I tell people, I challenge the rest of the world. If you can follow Bill Gates exactly the same way he basically built his career and that empire in terms of business success, you try to do it, and I will tell the people, they will miserably fail. What you got to understand is that world at that point of time had an environment which was completely different to the environment that you and I are in today. Level of competition was extremely different at that point of time. Technology evolution was at a different level altogether, right? So these were some of the elements he used, right? And I just took a few examples to tell you, with those differences, even if Bill Gates himself tried to build another empire, right, he himself would have failed, right? So that's why I'm saying not to follow, right? You can follow individuals, special skills and special attributes, right? But there are things that you can't acquire, because every single human being is different. There are things you can inherit, there are things you can acquire, there are things you can easily embrace. But at the same time, you and I know that there are things you can never acquire and make your own. So, given that philosophy and logic, if, kids try to follow one single individual, right? And I will tell that poor kid, please, son or daughter, don't do that. And when university students come to me for leadership interviews, when I go out and talk to various audiences, these little kids with innocence, they tell me, sir, we want to be someone like you. And I cannot discourage them, so I give them a broad smile, my usual one, and I tell them, son, I like your attitude, but this is what is right. Don't follow me, but follow any good things you think I have in me, which you think you can acquire, right? But at the same time, learn from a beggar on the street, right? See what some of the beggars on the street are doing, right? How they present themselves. What they are doing is socially unethical. But leave that aside for a moment. I'm just, talking about your ability to learn from people. How they, camouflage themselves, how they dress themselves, how they hang various, external gadgets in order to get noted and noticed, right? And through that process, they try to dilute your heart, right? And out of, doubt, right? And sometimes you think that, okay, I mean, we very well know that this guy is trying to, fool you. But you give the benefit of the doubt to the person and you pull your wallet out and you make a contribution. See how successful they are, right? So that's why I'm saying learn from every single individual.
So now, in that case, you have come a long way to become a managing director and CEO of a leading multinational company like Chevron Lubricants. What made you the man today?
Well, Dan, it's my attitude to be a winner, right? If you want that respect and that admiration, you got to keep performing. Performance being demonstrated once won't take you far enough. It's about sustaining your performance. It's about to keep improving your performance, and through that process to be able to beat the others. So that demands a lot of mind power, body power, skills, competencies, capacity, all of that. So to get that, you got to work harder and harder. You got to keep expanding your horizons in order to get extra knowledge you need, in order to sharpen your skills, and in order to acquire all the extra and ancillary skills you require for you to be able to keep on playing that game. Right? So these were some of the principles I have used so far in order to become the man I have become. And you only read out 5% of my profile, right? I actually work for the entire world as an extended leadership team member for Chevron, covering 180 countries. I get involved in putting the global strategy together, and I was the youngest to have been pointed to the Asia Pacific leadership team, and only Asian, right? So I'm saying these things not for me to sort of get the credit, but for the listeners to be able to understand that if you have the right attitude and if you have that winning formula, as Sri Lankans, we can challenge the rest of the world, and that's exactly what I have done. I'm heading an organization which was headed by expatriates before. Right, this is one of the topmost U.S. multinationals operating in Sri Lanka, and they took a risk by employing a Sri Lankan at this topmost level, and it was a big gamble. But when expatriates were managing this business, the company was delivering a bottom line of 600 million rupees. And as a Sri Lankan head, together with all Sri Lankan staff, today I'm delivering over 3 billion rupees, right? And that's with a strategy that brings in so much value for the country. As a multinational, we are manufacturing locally, and I'm listed in the Colombo Stock Exchange with 49% public shareholding, and I'm exporting products to a few countries, and as a multinational I'm only employing Sri Lankans, whereas you look at any other multinational in Sri Lanka, even if the head is a Sri Lankan, you would always find several expatriates at the second and third level. And I'm pleased and proud to say that this is the best model Sri Lanka should have, and Sri Lankan stakeholders should promote if we are to get out of this economic crisis we are in, for the country to be able to achieve economic independence for my countrymen, 21 million people, to have the life they deserve.
Thank you very much, Kishu. Now we will go for a break, and today we have Kishu Gomez with us. He's the Managing Director, CEO of Chevron Lubricants Lanka PLC. And when we come back, we will talk about the human resource in Sri Lanka. Now we get back to our discussion. And Kishu, there is a question.
Yeah, I know I need to respond to that. And thank you, lady from Matale, for asking that question. I really like it. Well, let me tell you a little bit of a story. My father is from Moratuwa, and from Moratuwa he goes to Mathura to start his photographic business, to start a studio there. So I was born in Mathura, and I did my initial schooling at St. Servatius Matra, and if people don't know where St. Keishas is, what the school is, that's the school Sanat Jayasuriya went to, and Ruchirapalli Guru went to, two famous guys, doing very well in the cricket arena. And then my uncle, my father's younger brother, brings me to Moratuwa, and he then puts me into Prince of Wales. So that's where I did my secondary education, and my uncle, by the way, was a very popular and well-respected academic professional. His name is H.L.B. Gomes, who was a principal at Royal for 9 long years. He was a psychologist, doing psychology lecturing, covering all the universities in Sri Lanka. And he had a stint in Nigeria, heading a university there. Very well respected individual. So I take this opportunity to pay my gratitude to him. He passed away about 5 years ago. Sadly, such a valuable individual who did what he could do to change Sri Lanka. So with him, I did my last passage of schooling at Prince of Wales.
Now let us turn to our discussion on the HR strategy in Sri Lanka. Kishu, now, we have very educated, very talented, very skillful people in this country. Have we really used the potentials of these people? Is our country's HR strategy is in right track?
Thank you. Once again, a brilliant question, which is very, very close to my heart, Dan. Let me use a few statistics, to put my answer in context. We have 21 million people, and Central Bank would say we have a workforce of about 7.5 million, but my figure is 8.5 million. The reason being that we have people who are over 60 whose brains are working much sharper than my brain. So they should be counted in. I mean, look at all the listed entities in Sri Lanka. We have 280 plus listed corporates, and look at the boards of directors of these companies. You would find 60% of them are over 60. And Mr. Ken Barendra, an icon in the business field, he is today over 73, and he was on my board for 12 long years. And he sat on my board for 12 long years, and a man I worked with very, very closely. So therefore, in terms of using the human capacity you have, we should obviously count these people in, so that we have a large base to depend on as a country. So having said that, in terms of HR strategy, by default or by design, we have a suicidal HR strategy. What is the strategy? We export housemaids, we export carpenters, we export plumbers, we export unskilled electricians, and basically manual labor. And each one of these people would bring in anything between 40,000 rupees to 60,000 rupees in terms of their net contribution to the Sri Lankan economy on a monthly basis. Right? And there are millions of Sri Lankans who are working across the world who makes that contribution, and as a nation, unfortunately, we are very, very proud of it. Right? Talking about the aggregate contribution these people are making to the economy. But what we have not noted enough, not recognized, and not doing anything about is the fact that while that is happening, we are importing CEOs and senior professionals. And then I was heading American Chamber of Commerce, providing leadership to over 400 companies in Sri Lanka. And I work for a multinational. We do international compensation surveys through international audit companies. Let me tell you something this country does not know. When a CEO comes from that side to my country, he or she on a monthly basis take anything between 10 million rupees to 20 million rupees a month. If somebody came to do my job, right, he or she would take 10 million rupees a month out of this country, right? So when one CEO comes this way, how many housemaids do we have to export to neutralize that situation? 500,000 if it's 20 million, right? And the ratio continues to increase. And I've spoken to all the politicians that I could talk to get their attention on it. Sadly, there has not been enough work done, right? So that's the suicidal strategy. Where have we failed? Why is this happening? I'll tell you my perspective on it. We give the knowledge. You said it. We have the best on knowledge. Of course, there are certain alignments that are needed, and that alignment is slowly and gradually happening. If you ask me, is that enough? I would say no, not enough at all. But we are down the right path. So in terms of knowledge, we can basically compare ourselves well enough with the rest of the world. But knowledge is not enough to be able to produce results in this highly commercialized world, in this commercial world. With knowledge, you can't create commercial value. You need skills in order to translate knowledge into rupees and cents or into dollars. That's where we have lacked as a nation, and that issue is still one of the most fundamental issues my country is faced with. We are not giving the right skills to the people, to the workforce, for them to apply the knowledge in order to create value for their organizations, be it business or service. That's where we have failed as a nation, right? Relative to Westerners, where have we failed? Communication. Communication to most people is language, and I tell the teachers, the gurus, the visionaries, and those who have wisdom, please do not mislead my younger generation. Communication is not language. We've got it completely wrong. Communication, to me, is this. Communication is your ability to get the attention from the listener. Communication is your ability to sell your story effectively to your buyer. Communication is your ability to influence other person's thinking. Communication is your power to be able to dominate a scene, a dialogue. Communication, finally, is your ability to get the listener's decision in favor of you. I shortened it. I can go on and take 2 hours to further define what communication is all about. So you just compare my skin versus the white skin. Am I right or wrong, Dan? You tell me, right? Communication skills. Number 2, creativity, right? We have a habit, an attitude of holding on to our inherent beliefs. And we are the last nation to think innovatively. And therefore, in the commercial world, we're being selling products and services as generic products and services. And there is no market for generic products anymore. There are large organizations, exporting products, but have they been able to dominate the world market? Sadly, no. See what America is doing today. What do? They don't manufacture anything. But you and I, from morning till evening, use all the American brands that are manufactured in China, manufactured in Indonesia, manufactured in Vietnam. So what have they done? They have used creativity, right? They have used emotions to an extent where they can suck value from the rest of the world to be the most powerful economy in the world. So that's where we have failed. And I know I'm taking too long to give my responses, so I will pause and let you ask me the next question, Dan.
Actually, Kishore, you're spot on with that. Now, we know that most of our people, especially the parents, they want their children to become doctors, lawyers, engineers, real professionals. But we really lack vocational training for our children to engage in much other skillful employment. And in those terms, why do you think that we have failed to use human resource effectively?
Lack of knowledge, as I said. I did tell you, responding to one of the initial questions, that my parents and elder generation at that point of time did not understand the world. Therefore, they could not give my generation the right advice. How is it today? There is a difference because world has become much smaller with technology evolution. Parents can have access to the rest of the world if they are keen, if they want to, they can know the world. But yet, the conviction they need to have in order to be able to give that perfect guidance to the children, still we are lacking in a big way, right? People are teachers in the first place in Sri Lanka do not know how to guide our children, right? And I tell the people, and it's a noble service, and there should be more and more intelligent and kind-hearted teachers getting into that profession. But I am saying, as a profession, purely from a commercial standpoint, if they understood the world, they wouldn't have become teachers. Right? Why should you become a teacher and earn 40,000 rupees when you had 10 different other fields to get into to earn 300,000 rupees a month? Right? That's purely from a commercial perspective. Don't get me wrong. I'm pleading with the listeners. Right? This is just to highlight that point. So what I'm saying is majority of our teachers do not understand the world, and they tell our student population what to become. So we think their level of understanding, all they tell the kids is, become a doctor, become an engineer, become, those traditional, professionals. And parents do the same. And they don't know the value of other jobs. And let me tell you, when I recruit a marketing executive for the lowest job I have, lowest executive job, okay, with a car which is fully maintained by the company, with free petrol, I would pay anything between 100,000 to 200,000 rupees a month, right? And what is the quality I look for? I want good, impressive O-level results, preferably, advanced level results, and few years of experience, and that strong personality who can, engage with people to do their job, right? You become a doctor, you become an engineer, you spend 5, 10 or rather 7 years of your quality, very productive time, you get into the first job, how much can you earn versus 100,000 or 200,000? All the top multinationals or top local companies are paying to these marketing executives, right? And a marketing executive, can become a manager over 2-3 years, right? And then, middle manager and a senior manager. And let me tell the parents and teachers, you become a senior manager of a good organization in Sri Lanka, just a senior manager, mind you. You can earn anything between 1 million rupees to 2 million rupees a month. You tell me if a doctor or an engineer can earn that much. We need people in every single profession, right? For us to be able to take a country forward, we need all those things in place. All I'm saying is, right, just know where the market is, where the world is heading in the first place, where the market is, which jobs can give you the maximum commercial value for you to be able to become the man or woman you want to become. Then in our culture there is this saying, රටට වැඩදායි පුරවැසියෙක් වයන් පුතේ හොඳ මිනිහෙක් වයන් පුතේ හොඳ මිනිහෙක් වයන් දුවේ. You tell me, if you don't have money, how you can become a හොඳ මිනිහා or හොඳ ගැහැණියක්? You tell me that, Dan. You should be able to stand on your feet for you to be able to be a හොඳ මිනිහා or හොඳ ගැහැණි. For you to be able to help, someone else, right? Then only you can become a good individual. And I'm very honest in giving my opinions. If I didn't have time to, if I didn't have money to feed my 2 kids, I have 2 sons, I would go and rob. I can't see them crying, Dan, right? I'm very frank, right? And most people would do that, right? So that's why I'm saying, think of commercial success before you think of social success. Look at all the issues my country has been battling with over 30 long years. What's the root cause, Dan? its poor economy that this country has had. There was an imbalance of distribution of wealth country had at that point of time, which created the issue in the north and east. So it's commercial. It's commercial. US today are talking about fundamental rights, human values, all that they teach the rest of the world. Regarding values people should embrace and nurture and live by. Why? They have commercial success. They can be in that situation. They can tell the world to be better in terms of human values, right? We also can do that the day we achieve commercial independence, right? So, sorry, I just went little out of the way, but I thought it was very necessary. So my advice to the teachers and our parents and older generation is just understand the world. If you do not understand the world, don't tell your kids what to do. Direct them to somebody who understands the world to get coached and mentored, so that they'll be able to make the right decisions to first achieve that commercial success, to be able to very strongly stand on their feet so that they can help the others, and through that process my country can be a much better place.
Thank you. And now we will go for a break, and when we come back we will have the final discussion in Coffee with Dan today, when I interview Keishas Gomas, is the Managing Director CEO of Chevron Lubricants Lanka PLC. What is your formula of success that you would like to share with the younger generation, and especially to our listeners, in guiding their children in the right track? Because you are a personality that who has won many awards in leadership. What's your advice?
Okay, thank you for asking that question. Another very important one for my country. Other people will tell you, start with your vision. Okay, mine is different. I tell the people, first understand the environment and the challenges in that environment. Let me tell you that as Sri Lankans, we expect tomorrow to be better. Is that expectation right? Will it come right? Not at all. We live in a world where natural resources are depleting, and to share the natural resources, the population is growing. The planet has 7.2 billion people, which is going to be 9 billion by 2042, right? Every 10 years, population grows by 1 billion people. And in that environment, you can very easily understand that with the imbalance we have today, what kind of great imbalance the world will have when the population grows to that extent, right? So don't expect the global economy to be better. It doesn't happen, right? So in terms of competition for individuals, competition will keep increasing. There is a population growth also in Sri Lanka. Year on year basis, about 500 people get added on to the workforce we have, right? After O levels and after doing degrees, all of that. So competition for our children will be at a much higher level than the competition you and I faced during our time. So recognize that, and there will be more and more challenges. Given that time is limited, I wouldn't go into more details, but understand that tomorrow will be much harder than today. Tomorrow's environment will be more challenging than today. You got to understand that. Then, okay, having understood that, you come up with your vision. People say the inspirational speakers, all these motivational speakers, gurus, so-called gurus, they all say, come up with a vision if you think you can achieve whatever you think you want to achieve. Is not right. It doesn't happen that way. It should be a vision that's aligned to what you got in you as a human being. Just to take a very simple example, if you do not have a nice voice, don't try to be a singer, right? So you got to understand who you are, what you possess as an individual, where your passion is, where you can be successful, right? And come up with your vision that's aligned with these factors I told you about, right? If you are a good communicator, get into an area where communication can make you a winner. Just an example, right? And if you can't, cut a human being's body, don't become a doctor, Okay, don't think of becoming a doctor, because that's not something you're going to enjoy. Therefore, you will not be able to have the level of success you like to have for yourself. So vision align with your passion and what you got in you as a human being. Okay, so then what else? You got to get the knowledge. And I was talking about knowledge. Knowledge is misunderstood by 90% of the people in my country, very sadly. People think that knowledge is just knowledge. Okay, and again, because the time is limited, let me just shoot. It has to be knowledge that's branded. People should know what knowledge you have gotten, right? Knowledge that has commercial value. Knowledge that you can sell, right, for the right price. Knowledge that is understood by the people, because the worst thing that can happen to a kid is getting knowledge which you have to go and sell. What a pathetic situation to be in. So when you get knowledge, world understand, so that when you go in front of an interview panel, you say, I have this knowledge from this university or this place. They understand what the quality of that knowledge is. So knowledge from that perspective. Is that enough? I did tell you where we have failed as a nation is in the area of skills. Skills you need to have, so that you can translate that knowledge into commercial value. So, and I talked about a few: creativity, your communication skills, right? Your ability to work with people. And as an individual in the modern world, you can't be successful. You can be in any profession. You yet need your people to work with you in order to create value as a team. Individual brilliance is not enough. What we need in organizational situation is team brilliance. Individuals working as individuals won't take an organization far enough, right? It's the team brilliance an organization would want, because at the end of the value chain, you want maximum value being created to be able to be competitive out there in the market. So it's teamwork. These are some of the skills our people do not have that we need to build. Okay, is that enough? Right? Great Muhammad Ali said, if you want to be a winner, your will has to be greater than your skill. And we are lacking as a nation. We do not have the winning attitude, because our teachers and our parents never told us to win when we take part. And our teachers and our parents said taking part is the best thing that you can do in the world. I can't use bad words, because this is a radio talk, but I would use the right words in order to convince the people that your thought is wrong. We should take part with the single intention of winning, right? But if and when we fail, we have to accept that defeat in the right spirit. But tell my entire younger generation, my son or daughter, when you take part to win, right? The will to win, the desire to win. Think like a winner, act like a winner, and become a winner. That attitude is extremely important. And for you to be able to be a winner, you got to beat the others, right? So you got to have that intention of beating the others. And if we don't beat the other nations, right? You tell me how we can create, economic value for the country. How we can be economically, independent. We can't, right? But, if you keep the benefits of that win to yourself, then one can say you're selfish. But if you are winning, if you are beating the others, not just for your benefit, it's for the benefit of all your loved ones and for the country, there is absolutely nothing wrong in doing so. That's what every single country is doing, which we are not doing. So will is extremely important, right? And then finally, last minute, when you are in the process of winning, apply yourself in such a way where others will perceive you, see you as a winner. Because in the modern world, it's not about you deciding for yourself if you are a winner or otherwise. It's others passing the judgment on you that you are a winner. So let me summarize. Understanding the challenge, understanding the vision,